Alright. Oh, that was loud. Okay. Alright, first question here is the value of x in this pentagon. So with this question, you can see that there's some symbols here that you got to take into account. These mean that it's 90 degrees. This is 100 degrees. And because they're both the same, that means they're both going to be obviously the same angle. So if you think about it algebraically, a five-sided shape, if you don't know how many degrees that should equal, it should be 540. Okay, so that means if you go 100 plus 90 plus 90 plus these two x's, it should equal 540. And then from there you can work it all out algebraically. To do that though, you can probably do this. Put these together. So these are your like terms. So that'll be 280 plus 2x equals 540. What's next here, guys? What should we do? Anyone remember? Take away 280. Okay, and that should give us 2x equals 260. And then the last thing is divide that 2. So you get x equals 130. So x is 130. Alright, next one. Which test can we use to prove? Are we copying this? If you want to copy it, go for it. I'll just zoom out. I'll zoom out a little.
Did you take the 540,000
It's going to be, I think it's 180 times n minus 2. So that basically gives you the number of degrees for any shape. N just refers to the number of sides. But I think most shapes will just be like, squares in the exam. Squares, rectangles, pentagons like this, or at most a hexagon. Yeah, that's it. We won't go with like anything more, I think, than that. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a bit in case you're copying that. So let's just go through the second question. So for the second one, it says, which test can we use to prove that these are congruent? Okay, remember, I did mention this before. Whenever you see a right angle, always assume that it's going to be a RHS. Because there's already a right angle in there. That means you're going to have at least the right angle, one side, okay, and it should be the hypotenuse. But in this case, I think it might, it is the case here, okay. Some of you might have gone angle, side as well. That technically is also correct, but because there's already a right angle, you have to assume that it's going to be RHS, okay. But you could have gone ASA as well, because you've got two angles, and then that side there, that are the same. Oops. But yeah, again, if there's a right angle, please go with RHS. That's the most correct way of doing it. Alright, in relation to the diagram, which statement is correct? Okay, what you want to do with a question like this is always label the sides first. If that's your angle, this is my opposite, this is my adjacent, and this is my hypotenuse. Okay, so we have to think about all the possible formulas that we can have, given that we have, these labels. So if that's my angle there, the only other, does anyone remember the trig ratio for sine? Oh, for this, so you've got O. Well, you've actually got a few options, but you've got O and H for sine. That's what you're focusing on, yeah. So for sine, it's going to be O over H. That's really the only trig formula you can have for sine, because we're focusing on this angle there. So in this scenario, it should be sine of whatever the angle is, should be 6 over 10. That's really the only one you can have for this. You can't have sine 8 over 10 because that would be using the incorrect sides. Remember, this is the trig ratio for sine. So if you've forgotten that, recommend that you watch the video for it again. Alright, next one. Length of hypotenuse in this triangle is, so just using your Pythagoras formula, this one you're looking for the H, so it's going to be C squared equals A squared. Actually, no, my bad. This is not Pythagoras. You've got an angle here. I thought that was a length. There's an angle there, okay? You've got a side and you've got a hypotenuse. If you're working with angles, make sure you use your trig ratio. So this is going to be opposite. That's my adjacent. This is my angle here. What has O and H? It should be sine. Okay, sine of 37 is equal to 4.8 over the h. Okay, and then working that out, if you get a question like this, all you have to do is swap h and sine 37. So just swap them around. So that goes here, and this guy will go down here, and it becomes h equals 4.8 over sine of 37, and the answer should be, I'm going to assume 7.98, which is what we have there. And if you forgot how to do that on your calc, all right, we can do it like this. So we go 4.8, we go down, sine of 37, close bracket, there you go, it's rounded to 7.98. Hope that's not too confusing, but again, I'm recording these so you can rewind it and see how we got to this point. Hey, that looks like a smiley face. Lol. Alright, let's keep going. Question 5, in the sequence below, here we got 7, 15, 23, 31, 80, 39. What is the common difference? Remember, common difference is any term, take away the previous term. Okay, so what that means is if I just pick any number here, I just got to minus the number before it. Alright, so in this case, let's say that that's T3, T4. So I'm going to go T4, take away T3. So that would be, 31, take away 23, which equals 8. So the common difference should be 8. You can test it for all of them. And that would be the case. So 39 minus 31 is 8. We know that that's 8. 23 minus 15 is 8. 15 minus 7 is 8. So common difference is 8. Common ratio, okay? So remember, for the ratio R, it's going to be any term divided by the previous term. So in this sequence, let's go, for example, T4, we did T4. Let's do T3 and T2. So that would be T3 divided by T2, which equals 36 divided by 18, which equals 2. Easy. So it's multiplying by 2 each time. So let me know if I'm going too quick. I will slow down a bit. Maybe I'll leave that up. Let's do the next one. The 10th term in this sequence is, so you've got 50, 44, 38, 32. Let's first figure out if it's arithmetic or geometric. I can see that if I try to minus each one, so if I go 44 minus 50, it'll be negative 6, okay? And then if I go 38 minus 44, it also is negative 6. Same thing with 32 minus 38, which is negative 6. So therefore, the common difference, I can use any. I'll go 38, take away 44, equals negative 6. So I already know how much it's going up and down by. This is now where I pull out my calculator. Okay, and using my calculator, I have to figure out what is the 10th number, T10. So on your calculator, start off by writing down the first number, 50. Remember, make a note, that is my first number, number 1. And to get the next number, I know that I'm minusing by 6. So if I go minus 6, this is my second number, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, 9, 10. So my 10th number is negative 4. Sorry, negative 4. Alright, is that coming back to everyone's mind, I hope? Yes? Yes, yes. Regan? Yep. I see you smiling. The math work must be funny. Alright, these are the questions that might get a bit trickier now, okay? Because it's not necessarily the same amount each time for some of the questions. You just have to read what it's saying. Because now we're going to work with percentages. Okay? So the number of wild foxes in the forest decreases by 10% each year. If there are currently 480 foxes, after how many years will the population be less than 200? Okay, that's a lot of information to think about. So if it's decreasing by 10% each year, okay, that means it's decreasing by, it's multiplying by a certain number where it's going to be decreasing each time, okay? It's not decreasing by the same amount, Okay, like what we thought it would be for a arithmetic. This is a geometric question, okay, because it's decreasing by a percentage each year. So if that's the case, we have to think about what's the common ratio. Does anyone remember the two common ratio rules that we found when you're working with percentages? If it's increasing, it's 1. Yes, Michelle?
1 plus the percentage number.
Good. And if it's decreasing?
1 take away.
Good. Take away the percentage over 100. Because this is decreasing, I'm going to use my decreasing formula. So from there, it's going to be R equals 1 take away 10 over 100, which equals 0.9. So this is the number that you're multiplying by each year to get your amount. Okay, so copy that down if you don't already have it. And then on my calculator, so how do you work that out then on my calculator? All right, well, remember, we're trying to figure out at what year will it be less than 200. So we have to figure that out using a calculator. First, type in how much you have at the first year. So according to this, we have 480 for the first year. All right, so make a note of that, 480. And then you press enter. And now, because the ratio is 0.9, it's not minus, it is times. Geometric sequence, it's times. Times 0.9. So that means we're looking for how many years will it take to be less than 200. All right, so this is year, if I press enter, year number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it looks like the 10th year, or the 9th year. Did I say 9 or 10? Let me try that again. Or is it actually? Oh, okay. I'm not reading the question properly. Okay, this implies, now this is the tricky part of the wording. This implies that this is the starting, okay, not the first year. Because it doesn't say this is the first year. It just says currently there's this many. I understand it gets a bit confusing, but that should be treated as T0 or the starting. I'll put that in brackets, starting. Okay, so that's where this question will get a bit confusing. You'll come across a lot of these in year 11, and this is how they split between people who know what they're doing and are reading the questions and people who aren't reading the questions. Okay, so 480, that's my starting, it's not the first year. Times, okay, 0.9. So now you've got year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So in the 9th year, it'll be less than 200. Okay, so I can write here T9, you've got 185.96. So on the 9th year is when that will occur. All right, let's do the next two and then you guys can keep going. All right, Jack invests $2,000 in the bank and offers 4.5% per annum, simple interest for 4 years. All right, so many words. Again, let's look for some keywords here. You've got, at the very least, okay, you've got your percentage of how much it's increasing and decreasing by. This word here as well, simple interest, means that this is going to be a arithmetic type question where you're minusing or adding by the same amount each time. And then you've also got the time and years here. Okay, and also one more thing, how much he started with. Okay, so he started with $2,000 in the bank. All right, the recurrence relation that best models this investment is. This is actually a year 11 question. Okay, but we have given it to you before in the SAT. All right, so remember, any recurrence relation, when you have money involved like this, you have to have T0, or it can also be V0. Okay, we learned about that before. So T0 is equal to the starting amount. So you have to tell me this. What's the starting amount? And then comma, Tn plus 1 is equal to Tn times how much it's multiplying by. Or in this case, because this is a arithmetic type question, how much you're increasing by. Okay, I know some of you may have forgotten how to do this, but I really encourage you to watch those videos again, as that will have the rundown on how to do these. So first of all, does anyone want to know, or want to tell me what's the starting amount here? Let's start with that. 2,000, good. Okay, so let's start with that. You at least know starting amount is 2,000. Okay, and then you've got Tn plus 1 is equal to Tn. Now, we have to think about the question because it's saying 4.5% simple interest. Remember, that means that it's adding or subtracting by the same amount. But what you have to do is find 4.5% of the 2,000. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, that's for this D rule. So it's going to be the percentage over 100 times whatever the starting amount is, which is that. So in this case, it would be the percentage of 4.5 over 100 times by 2,000, and that will equal, well, it should equal 90 according to the answer. Well, let's do it here. Over 100. Yep, equals 90. I hope that what I'm saying isn't gibberish, but it could be. It could very well be for some of you. Another thing you can also think about is, because this is simple interest, you can just look at the answers and cancel out some things. You can see if it's simple interest, it has to have addition. So in this case, it can't be this one, because you can see in the recurrence relation it's multiplying. Okay, see, it's multiplying there, so it can't be this one. Also can't be this one because it's multiplying, and it can't be this one because it's multiplying. So I've whittled down my answer to either A or D. Okay, already. And you can sort of make it easy for yourself. If you don't know, then just at least make a guess. Alright, last question, and then you guys can keep going. The scatter plot below describes the correlation between X and Y. Which one is it? Well, the tricky thing here is some of you may have picked moderate. Am I correct? No? Or did you all pick weak? Did you all pick weak? Because at the very least, we know it's negative. Okay, it's going downwards. So it can't be positive, or it can't be no correlation. Or it can't be D. Okay, so it's got to be either strong or weak. Would we say it's strong or weak, guys? Weak. Okay, good. So I'm sure you all didn't get that. Didn't get too confused with that. So easy. All right. Go ahead and do the next few questions, and then we'll continue on. All right. All right. So we got up to here. Just really quickly. All right. It's recording already. Beautiful. All right. Shh. Dylan, you're on YouTube now. All right. So question 11. The graph shows the number of occupants on a large nursing home over the last 14 years. Okay, so we have to write down what is the trend. Okay, what is the trend of this? Now, if you look at this and you look at the answers, let's think about what we have here. It's going downwards, isn't it? Like there's a general downwards trend. So it can't be non-linear, and it can't be upwards, and it can't be no trend. Okay. Now think about it. Are we talking about correlation or trend here? Trend. So it can't be E either, because that's talking about correlation. So the only possible answer is downwards linear. You know what? This thing that I'm doing now is actually quite helpful. When you cancel out answers that don't make sense, it makes picking the answer a lot easier. All right. So you should do that. Over here, the solution to this, well, there's no quick way of doing it, but let's just solve it. Okay. So 10x plus 5 over 3 equals 5. First thing we do is get rid of that 3. Bring it here, it becomes times 3. So you get 10x plus 5 equals 15. Okay, that's a plus 5. Get rid of that. It becomes minus 5. So you get 10x equals 10. And then that's 10 times, so it becomes divided by 10. Therefore, x is 1. Okay, shh. You got to get good and quick at doing these. Dylan, are you listening? All right, are you up to this? Rumia, are you listening as well? All right. Next question. I'll zoom out a bit, so if you want to keep copying that, go for it. Next question here. All right, you got to make sure you read the question properly, or else you're not going to be understanding it very well. So it's saying here, a line passes through these points. What is the gradient? So whenever you have 2 points and it's asking for the gradient, this is when you bring out that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 rule. Okay, that's what this is referring to. So what you want to do is label your points first. You can call it x1, y1, x2, y2, or you can go x2, y2, x1, y1. It doesn't really matter, as long as you group them together properly. Now, if you did it the other way around, you should still get the same answer. So y2 in this case is 1, y1 is minus negative 4 over x2 is negative 6 minus 4. So if I did that, it'd technically be 1 plus 4 over negative 6 over minus 4. Okay, because remember what happens to the two negatives? It becomes a positive. Okay, so now you get 5 over negative 10, and then simplifying that becomes negative a half, which is the same as what we got there. So negative a half. Oh, what the heck? What the heck? Okay, next question. The equation over here. Okay, how do we get this equation? Now, I was talking to Shia about this, and again, same thing with what we've been doing in the previous questions.
I just crossed it out on B and I put on A instead.
You got, but did you do the thing I said? Like, you just cross out the ones that don't make sense? Or maybe not, I don't know. But if you look at this equation line, okay, have a look at the y-intercept. The y-intercept I can see here is negative 6. Okay, negative 6. So that means anything that's not negative 6 can't be the answer. So if you look at the y-intercept, remember, y-intercept is the number that is by itself. Okay, in this case, it can't be C, because that has a y-intercept of 2, and it can't be E, because that has a y-intercept of 2 as well. So it's either A, B, or D. Okay, next thing is, which way is the line going? Is it positive or negative? It's positive, so that means the gradient should be positive. That means the letter, or the number that's next to x, has to be a positive number. So it cannot be B, because that's a negative gradient. So it's either A or D. So now this is where we figure out what is the gradient using the rise over run method. Remember, for this, you have to have 2 points in order to do this. So I always use the y-intercept point and any other point, maybe this one here. And you have to do the rise over run. So the rise over here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then the run here, now you're going to be a bit confused, but the run here is actually just 1, 2. Why didn't I go with these partition lines? Does anyone know why? They're decimals. Good. Okay. And if you look at the number line, okay, technically that's 1, that's 2, 3 should be here. All right. So in terms of the spacing, it should be 1, 2 for the run. All right. So 6 over 2 equals 3. So the gradient should be 3. And looking back at our question, the only one with the 3 gradient is D. Okay, so it can't be that one. All right, last couple of questions. Actually, the last short answer, multiple choice. The graph below shows that the time at that time, 35 shows that time reaching 35 degrees Celsius will take 15. Okay, so it's basically saying the time it takes to reach 35 will be 15 minutes, which is not supported by the graph. It will take 9 minutes to reach 21. Well, 9 minutes to reach 21, not quite. It actually will take 20, it'll be 20 degrees when it reaches 9 minutes. So it can't be that one. Actually, no, not supported means that it is correct. So that makes sense. So it can't be that one. The temperature increases as time increases. That's correct. So it can't be that one. We're looking for the incorrect answer here. The rate at which the temperature increases is 7 over 3 degrees Celsius. Well, if you did the gradient for it, that would be correct. The only one that doesn't seem correct is after 20 minutes, the temperature will reach 40 degrees Celsius. Well, if you go at 20, which is about maybe here, I don't think it supports that. It should actually be about here somewhere, because if you follow the trend, okay, think about the trend, it's got to go past the 40 degrees. Okay, so it should be that. All right, let's keep. Actually, no, we won't keep going. I'll let you guys continue. All right, let's go through solutions. It is recording. Okay, lovely. All right, question 1 of your short answer questions. Let's go through it. Triangles below. Girlies. Listening, please. The triangles below are similar. Determine the scale factor. So, to get this, what you want to do is draw the triangle separately if it confuses you. So, if you do that, here's a smaller triangle. This is triangle ABP. And the lengths of it are 2 and 4. And then the bigger triangle, this will be QRP. Okay, and the length of this should be, that's X, and this should be 8. Okay, why is it 8? Because triangle QPR is this thing, and it combines both of these lengths here. So it should technically be 8 altogether. So, for the scale factor, I mean, you could just, this is assuming that the new shape is the one with the unknown. You can go 8 divided by 4, which is what is over here. And the answer is 2. So the scale factor for that is 2. Alright, find the value of X. Well, if the scale factor is 2, that means to get this length here, get the corresponding side from the smaller triangle and you're multiplying it by 2. So times 2, that means X equals 4. Okay? So what I've done there is basically transferred it, multiplied by 2 because the scale factor, remember, was 2. And that's the corresponding, oh, sorry. That is the corresponding side. Alright, let's keep going. Shh. This next one's a bit tricky. Okay? But it's a square and it's told you the diagonal length there. Okay? What you have to do for this question is you want to split it in half. Or at least work with just 1/2 of the square. Okay, work with only 1/2 of the square. Now what I've done there is, remember, this is 90 degrees. But because I've cut these in half, okay, by just segmenting the triangle, so that's only this one, these angles now have become just 45 degrees. So that's 45 now. Okay, and then from there, I can see that the hypotenuse, remember, according to the question, the hypotenuse was 24.6. And we're trying to look for one of these lengths. Okay, so basic trig ratio question. If there's my angle, that's my opposite, that's my hypotenuse. So I'm going to use my sine ratio. So sine of the angle is equal to O over H. In this case, the sine of 45 is equal to the opposite, which is X, and the H, which is 24.6. And when you do that, this 24.6 gets moved. So this goes over here. So it's 24.6 times sine of 45. So I should do it like this. I am struggling. Sine 45 equals X. Put that in my calculator. So 24.6 times sine of 45, sorry, should equal 17.39. Yes?
I did close, but I still at the same answer.
Good. It would be the same thing. Because of the way, you might have put the angle here, didn't you? Yeah, so that also works. So that equals 17.4. Good catch, Chloe. I actually did cos first as well, but because of the way the person did the solutions here, I went with sine. Yeah. Thank you. Did anyone else go with cos and they got the same letter? Cos. So the other one you could have done is this. Because, 45, and this would have been 24.6, and you're looking for this, for example. Okay, you would have gone cos of the angle equals X over 24.6, and you would have worked it out that it would actually be the same as this guy. OMG indeed. Ooh woo. Oh whoa. Okay. Next one. Actually no, that's it. So just do, no, 3 and 4. Let's do 3 and 4. Alright, shh. From the top of a building, 90 meters tall, the angle of depression of a car parked to the ground is 48. Now, this is talking about trigonometry now. Angles of elevation and depression. Remember, elevation is, let's say you've got your line of sight. Anything above that is elevation, and anything below is depression. Okay. In this case, the angle of depression is this. So it's gone. There's the line of sight, and the angle of depression is 48 degrees. If you think about it as well, this should be 48 degrees too. Okay, because if these lines are parallel, which they should be, that's 48 and that's 48. Draw the situation described above. So if you drew something like this, good. Something similar to this. You don't have to have the 48 here, but at least something like this. Okay, if you have the 48 here, good, and you got to have the label for the 90 meter tall building. Okay. Alright, so remember I mentioned before this angle here should be 48 degrees as well. The question is, find the distance that the car is parked away from the building. Alright, so there's a couple of ways you can do this. What this person has done is they figured out that this angle here should be 42. Because, remember, all of this should add up to 90 degrees, right? So, if this angle here is 42, what they've done, I'm going to redraw the diagram so that you can see what they've done. Okay, so this should be 90, this is 42, and they're looking for this distance here. Okay, that's what's happened. So if that's the case, this is my opposite, that's my adjacent, OA, so using a tan ratio, so tan of the angle, opposite over adjacent. In this case, it'll be tan of 42 is equal to x over 90, which is what we have here. And in working that out, move that 90 here, becomes 90 times tan 42, which is what we have here. This one here. So if you're copying the working out, please copy this one, because this is correct. And then x equals 81 meters. I'm hoping you're not just copying though, just hopefully you understand what's happening. Okay. I think we'll have time to play the drawing game, guys. Well, we've got to get through this though. Alright, next question. I'll just read it, but you can keep copying there. Barbecues have been made using a certain number of blocks. I've never seen a barbecue that looks like this. The following recurrence relation models the number of blocks for each subsequent barbecue. So what this recurrence relation is saying is that the first barbecue has 7 blocks. Yeah. And what's the common difference, guys? 3. Good. So this is saying you're adding by 3 each time to get the next blocks. What is the common difference? We already said that, 3. And then question B is use the recurrence relation to generate the number of blocks for the 10th barbecue. So for the 10th barbecue, getting your calculator out, all you got to do, look at the recurrence relation. You can see that it starts at 7. Oh, sorry, the first term is 7. So make a note of that. That's my first term. And you're adding 3 each time. So we're going to look for how many there are in the 10th barbecue. So how many blocks needed for the 10th? So this is barbecue number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10th barbecue is 34. Okay. Question 5. A car was purchased. Now, by the way, I do not like the way this question is worded, because this should not be flat rate as.
Worded question should not just end.
Yes. But yes. Shh. So it should not be flat rate. It should be decreasing at per year rather than flat rate, because flat rate means that you have to find a percentage of this, but we're not doing that, okay? Because of the way the question is worded. So just ignore that. What you have to do here is figure out if this is going to be a compound interest question. You have to find the R value. Remember, what are the 2 rules for R? If it's increasing, it's 1 plus. But if it's decreasing, it's 1 minus the percentage over 100. In this case, it's decreasing. So we're going to use this 1 minus percentage over 100, and there's the answer there. 1 take away 10% over 100, which equals 0.9. All right, so copy this and copy this, please. That's the two things that we want in there. Please, slay people, slay. All right. B, determine the recurrence relation to model the decreased value of the car. Remember, the recurrence relation, you have to tell me what's the starting term. Starting term, and then separated by a comma, Tn plus 1. Writing's horrible. Not slaying. Tn plus 1 equals Tn times, what's the common ratio? Now the answer's already up here. So T0 is 18,500. If you read the question, it tells you there. And we already have our common ratio, which is 0.9, which we calculated here. Or sorry, here. Okay, so that's where we got our numbers. Shh, girlies. Okay, next one's annoying. Okay, you have to work out by hand because it says show working out, which is you have to show basically all of this. But I would probably never do this to you guys. I'd be like, tell me just what's the third year, because it's just too much to write down. Writing the same thing over and over again. But if you want to copy it, go for it. On your calculator, basically what's happening here. Raquel, Samara, stop. Shh. Okay, you guys are being recorded, so be quiet. So T0, start with that, 18,500. And remember, the recurrence relation tells you to get the next number, you're multiplying by 0.9. So that means to get the next number, T1, it's going to be 18,500 times 0.9, which equals that amount. And then you repeat the process. So this is now T2 multiplied by 0.9, sorry, there's the amount. Repeat the process again, until you get to less than 10 grand. So we figured out that the answer was T6. On my calculator, this is how you do it. 18,500, so start with that. Then press enter. And then you know that the common ratio is 0.9, so times 0.9. So when you press enter, this will be the first year. So year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6. On the 6th year, it'll be below 10 grand, which is what we have here. Okay, next one. Similar question. Jerry invests 12,300 in the bank for 3 years. The bank offers a compound interest of 3.8% per annum. Okay, lovely. This is now obvious that it's compound interest because it says. Okay, remember, calculate the R value. So in this case, remember, if it's increasing, it's 1 plus. If it's decreasing, it's 1 minus. In this case, it's 1 plus because it is an investment. So you're putting money in the bank. And there is the answer there. R equals 1 plus 3.8 over 100, which equals 1.038. Writing your recurrence relation, remember, same thing as the previous. T0, what's that? Starting amount. You don't have to actually write what I'm writing down here in red, but I just want to make a point so that you remember what it is. And separated by comma, Tn plus 1 is equal to Tn times the common ratio. The starting amount, which is this, is from the question, and the R value is from the previous question, which we just did. So that's how we get those values. Every recurrence relation, you must state these. Starting amount and the how much the common ratio is. And then the next question is, calculate the total value of the investment after 3 years. It's 3 years because if you read the question, it says it's being invested for 3 years. So read the question, please, when you do these. Calculating that is the same as what we did previously here. Okay, so I'll do it in my calculator as well. Start off by putting your starting amount, 12,300. Press enter, multiply it by the common ratio. You can look at your recurrence relation. 1.038, 1.038. If you press enter, that's year 1, year 2, year 3. Okay, so there's year number 3. This should be 1.6, not 1.9, but that's okay. Okay, Oh man, YouTube's gonna hear me yawn now. Alright, we've got 20 minutes left. Can I continue? Okay, keep copying, keep copying. It's alright, it's alright. I'll put this on OneNote and on Teams, so you'll have it. Slowly scrolling away. It's getting away. Oh no. Oh no. This is not lunch. Did I say it right? Okay. I said this is not lunch.
This is not lunch. It's not.
It's not lunch. It's not even dinner. It's not even supper.
Exactly. It's not even.
It's not even a midnight snack. Alright.
Experience.
Alright, let's go to the next two. There's two more questions. Nearly there. Alright, here we go. Determine the gradient of this. Alright, so gradient. Remember, there's two ways to do gradient in this case. The way that I expect you to do it is have your coordinates, so -2, 5, and then you've got 3 and 7. Label your points, x1, y1, x2, y2. Remember the formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that will be, in this case, 7 take away 5 over 3 take away -2. And this becomes 7 minus 5 over, what does this become? 3 plus 2. Okay? And this becomes 2 over 5. So if your answer is 2 over 5 or 0.4, great. Lovely. Good job. Now, determining the y-intercept. This is the trickier part. Remember, your formula so far is now going to be y equals, I'm going to use 0.4, as that's a bit easier. 0.4x plus c. There's two things I'm looking for here. I've got my gradient, but I need to find the y-intercept. So to find the y-intercept, get your formula for now, and just change x and y to any x and y here. I'm going to use this one, 3 and 7. Okay, so I'm going to change y to 7. I'm going to change x to 3. So you have 7 equals 0.4 times 3 is 1.2 plus c. This is a plus 1.2, so if I move it here, it becomes minus 1.2. Therefore, c is equal to 5.8. All right, and then that's it. That's my gradient. There's my y-intercept. Put it together in my formula. And there's your answer, okay? So there's that guy, and there's this guy. I hope that's making sense. You know what I found really interesting is that a lot of you guys got this right on the sack. So it shows that you were listening for once in your life. Slay, people, slay. Slay poos, slay. Alright, let's keep going. Last question. Last and final question. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll play a game. Alright, how about that? Alright, last one. Shh. So, sorry, are people still copying? My bad. Keep copying. Copy. Copy this. The next one shouldn't be too hard. Okay, next question. Shh. This question will be dinner. It's good. Alright, so with this question, everyone's going to have slightly different answers, but if your plot looks like mine, then you should be right. You should be right. So the first question was, plot the points. Okay, plot those points. And then the second question was, do your line of best fit. Everyone's line is going to be a bit different. As long as your line doesn't look like this, yeah? Okay, do not make your line like this. Like that. Or like that. Okay, don't go nuts with it. Make sure it fits the data properly. Okay, it has to fit the data. Next question is describe the trend. It's decreasing downwards trend. So if you just wrote downwards trend, I'll give you the mark for it.
How about a negative
Okay. Okay. It should be downwards. I just want to see downward and trend, those two words. And then use a line of best fit to predict the weight of the individual after 14 months. Comment on this reliability. At 14 months, I would say, let's say like it was over here. It would be about, oh, that's 12, 13, 14. You know, let's say it's about 65. So if you wrote somewhere between 60 and 70, I'll give you the answer for that. So it has to be between 60 and 70. But I want you to write, I think one of the things you guys all wrote in your answers in the SAC is you guys actually wrote the range. You can't do that in the exam. You have to write a specific number. Okay? So don't write the range, write a specific number for your answer. Okay? So it could be between 60 and 70. And then commenting on the reliability, okay, have a think, guys. Is this going to be a interpolation or extrapolation? Anyone remember? Why is it extrapolation? Good, it's extrapolation, it's outside the given data range, okay? Yes, definitely. Not accurate. I'll give you a 5-minute break, then we'll go.